Welcome back to Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. Jake Brown here alongside my co-host, Nelson Figueroa. Follow us on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio, at FiggyNY, and at Amazin But True. Watch us on the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Give us a thumbs up. Comment below. How did your bets do in football today? Did you bet on the Mets today? Who finally won a freaking game after losing 3 in a row? They avoid getting swept in Minnesota, home of JMY 9595, who tweets me, by the way, and I realized it's the guy who left the negative review. And he tweets me like nonchalantly, like he didn't leave a Moby Dick novel in the Apple podcast section. So shout out to him. So he clearly still listens. It's like, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So that's it. But yeah, Figgy, the Mets, not a ton to talk about on the show today. I hope you enjoyed your football Sunday. The Mets did play a game. Didn't feel like it because no one scored until, DJ Stewart. We were saying he's fighting for a roster. I mean, DJ Stewart is playing like a guy who is going to be on a major league roster next year. It's not about fighting anymore. He has been tremendous, hitting for power, hitting in the gap, hitting the clutch on Sunday with the go-ahead hit. And Figgy, this guy is becoming, here's the thing. A lot of people compare me to saying he's last year's Daniel Vogelbach in the last 2 months. Vogelbach gets traded here, does decently. He's the thick guy. Everyone loves him. But Stewart has a little bit more promise. He's a little faster. He was a first-round pick. He actually plays the field. I think DJ Stewart is a promising piece to maybe be a bench guy and, a fun story and a good win on Sunday.
I hope not, but it's been great for DJ Stewart. I think one of the best.
What you hope he's not on the roster next year?
Yeah, I don't need DJ Stewart on the roster. One of the things,
like a 25th guy. I don't think it's the end of the world.
Still don't need him. If I have all these prospects that I gave up $131.8 million for, I'm looking for one of those guys to be on the roster. A little bit more athleticism. You said he's a step up from Vogelbach. That's not a step up enough that I need.
One giant step up from Vogelbach. One giant step.
But listen, there's again too many young pieces that you're hoping for. If you're telling me I have DJ Stewart or Acuna, what do you think I'm going with?
Well, Acuna is not going to be there for opening day. He's not going to jump from AA to the majors. He's going to start in AAA next year and then maybe be on the Mets after the All-Star break. I don't think he'll be there in April.
You don't know that. They might have seen enough to say, hey, he can make. Why not? He's not young. You're acting like he's 18 years old.
Yeah, but to jump straight from AA to the majors, his brother rarely happens.
He's at 20. Remember that. So if he's advanced, and he's more advanced than his brother was, his brother will be the first one to tell you he's more advanced at this age than he ever was. So I think that's one of the things that you're looking at. Can he make the jump? Absolutely. He's a prize prospect that you traded away Scherzer for, so you give him an opportunity. DJ Stewart's been fun. It's been great for him because, like I was trying to say, that he has the quote of the year so far. Why'd you grind it out so long? Why'd you work so hard? Diapers are expensive, right? And that's exactly the reason you root for a guy like this. This is a guy who's going out there and trying to show that he can play at the major league level, and so far so good. But you can't tell me you've liked the routes on the fly balls and some of the.
He's not the greatest defensively, no,
right?
But...
So he's taken some good swings. He's changed his approach maybe a little bit more, and it's led to some success. But the old adage is what? You don't put a lot of onus into March or September. He did a lot of the damage in August, but he was still relatively unknown. There was nobody in baseball that was like, oh, I wonder what this guy can hit. It was more of like, let's see if he can hit this, and he was getting away with it for a little while. So I think he's not the guy in the lineup that you're worried about. He's not the guy in the lineup that you're like, we can't make a mistake to. And he's taking advantage of that. So I tip my cap to him in that situation. But if he's on this 25-man roster, 26-man roster, then you're still asking yourself, are they really trying to compete, or are they going to take a year off and wait until some of the other free agents that are more coveted come to into play? So, but hey,
who would have thought we'd be opening up talking about DJ Stewart in a roster spot in 2024? Yeah, what is this show?
As long as we have a Jake Doppelganger on the team, right? That's what you like.
Yeah, I mean, one of one.
Anybody ask you for an autograph yet while you're in the stands?
No, maybe for my talented podcast duties, I've been asked for an autograph, but not for my
and your picks debut.
Picks debut, yes. Those segments go quick. It's like a whole 4 minutes, and it's like, all right, off to commercial. See you, Jake. I'm like, I wasn't done. I wasn't ready. They weren't ready. Kevin Hart
He wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go to commercial. And
it's the quickest. The show is always a fun one because we talk about it's the quickest 22 minutes in sports. As soon as you're done with a segment, bam, commercial. Come back from that commercial, bam, segment's almost over. Oh, half the show's almost over. Here we go. So yeah, it's a different animal. You don't get to pace yourself like we do here. But so the Mets struggling, losing 3 in a row, then finally get a 2-0 win. Megill pitches well, 2 hits over 5 innings.
Yeah, how about him? I was going to go to him next because, we said it's gut check time for him to even fight for a roster spot. Figgy, his last 5 starts, no runs on Sunday, against Seattle, 3 runs, against Texas, 1 run, against Atlanta, 3 runs, against Pittsburgh, 2 runs. And before that, it was when he was getting crushed.
Yeah.
His last 5 starts, he's been good. I don't know what to think of him right now. I don't know what his future is with the Mets, but he's at least proving that he is going to earn at least a spot to fight for a 7th, 8th, 9th starter. I'm not going to say, a spot in the 5, but like he's saying, hey, don't forget about me when you're constructing that rotation next year.
Yeah, if you have a nickname Big Drip, you've got to give me more than 7th or 9th place on the starting rotation. And with the stuff that he has, he's had these great moments that we've seen this guy pitch, and his velocity there was an uptick. He was hitting 98, 99 miles an hour. I haven't seen that same guy. I haven't seen that same wipeout, strikeout stuff, the nasty changeup, very serviceable slider. I haven't seen that from him with any regularity. And that's been the biggest, I think, question mark for me was going into the season. We talked about the 2 Hall of Famers that you could sit back and try to learn so much from, and yet he just seemed to regress all season long. He dealt with injuries himself again, goes down to AAA, and AAA was an absolute disaster for him. His ERA was over a 10. And so, yeah, it's good to see him kind of find himself, but should it really take 6 months to find yourself? That isn't something that, again, the 26-man roster for next year is looking for. And it's unfortunate because we kind of envision him to be the 4 or the 5, depending on if everybody was available, because that never happened, right? That never happened the whole year of the band getting a chance to play together. Everybody was hurt at their own time. We had a suspension with Scherzer, so you never got to see that rotation, go one time through with all 5 guys. And there's a lot, that's left to be said about that. And then you look at the lineup being so inconsistent, but I think Megill, he's still under contract. He's still a guy that's going to be not a ton of bucks going towards. If he goes to arbitration, it's not going to be like $10 million pitcher. So he's going to be a guy that's going to be up for the 4th, 5th spot, and hopefully he can continue in this trajectory that he's on right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what his role is, Peterson, because they have been, the rocky road. They have been like the ice cream. What is that? Is that a flavor of ice cream or a brand?
It is a flavor of ice cream.
Rocky Road. I wouldn't know as a Lactaid member that I can't do it anymore.
Wait, you said Lactaid, right?
Lactaid member. You got to put the right letters, or then this becomes
nervous there.
Speaking of Big Drip, my brother's wife just had a baby, so I know that's just coming to the ceremony and then back to work, back in the villa. Amazing, but we've hit that point of the season, folks. September 10th here, Sunday. Yes, so Megill, we'll see. Another guy who's like fighting for, again, we talk about 7th, 8th, 9th spot. Jose Budo. I mean, this guy's come out of nowhere and has not been booty. He's been, I was gonna say Judge Judy. I don't know. He's been groovy. He hasn't been booty. And he's been solid. Like
is it hard to live your life as an ADD rapper?
Yes,
like
it is.
Everything has to rhyme in some way, shape, or form.
I stay rhyming in the streets, and in the tweets. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's another guy. All right, he's fighting for 8th, 9th spot, but Jose Budo's, proven himself. A guy who hasn't got a chance is Mike Vasil, who imploded in AAA after being great in AA. So Figgy, it's crazy to be talking about guys who are fighting for 7th, 8th, 9th spots, but Budo's another guy you got to at least consider next season, because He's had some good stuff. He had 6 strikeouts the last outing, so he's been decent.
Yeah, with all the trades that were made, there were 2 arms that they got. I think it's 9 of the 17 top prospects are now with AA, AAA. So you're talking about these are supposed to be the guys that you can call upon when guys that you're signing to big contracts get hurt. And what does that look like, right? What does that depth look like? Other than being called a prospect, it means absolutely nothing, right? Because we don't know what they can do at the major league level. That's why it was so important to get Mauricio up here. That's why it's so important to get all the baby Mets that you were so coveted, get them as many reps as possible, get them as many at-bats as possible, get them out there so you can see exactly what they can do. For them, it's a little different. It's about everything next year. It's not overwhelming when they arrive, if they don't make the club right out of camp, so that they're not, they know the ins and outs of all the little things. It's not necessarily baseball on the field. That doesn't change since you're 13 years old and you go 60-foot mound and 90-foot bases. Baseball doesn't change, right? As you get older, it doesn't change. The only thing that changes is, again, the size of the stadiums and you go from a single deck stadium to a double deck to a triple deck when you're in the big leagues. Those kinds of things change, where the expectations change, the levels change. But the game itself, when you're playing it, that's the easy part. The hard part is everything else involved, of where to be, how to get there, how you travel on the road, saying no to people when they want tickets all the time, saying, being able to avoid the temptations of being a big leaguer and going out all the time. All that stuff, you want them to do all that their first cup of coffee, say, in September, and where it doesn't matter for a team who's how many games out of first place are they now? 20.
They're 9 out of the wild card.
No. Give me the first place.
I haven't even looked at that in months because it's been so over that I haven't.
I just got to hear the number because it's so ridiculous.
They're currently 28 games behind the Atlanta Braves, and they have actually been eliminated from the division because they only have 20 games remaining at 65 and 70.
There is no way in your darkest fears could you have said they're going to be 28 games out with still 3 weeks left to play. That is an amazing thing. The credit that you have to give to the Atlanta Braves for absolutely boat racing the National League East. And we thought it was going to be, well, every team got a little bit better and they're just going to, be playing against each other, knocking each other down. And nah, hold my beer. Braves just boat raced everybody.
Braves are going to win the division for the next decade. I'm convinced.
Well, this is the thing that us as Met fans, like, we see it on paper and it looks so good for the first time to have all these big names and stars and money, owner. And it's like, okay, sky's the limit, right? But then you have a reality check that's sitting right there next to you in the Braves, who have done it, and the Phillies even, who have done it and have gone further than you over the past 20 years. And you're sitting here going, now's our chance. Now's our time. The 5 aces came and went without a world championship. They made it to the World Series, but without a world championship. They made it to the playoffs 2 times with the 5 aces. Besides the 5 aces, they got to the playoffs last year and got booted on a 100-win season very quickly. So we want to have nice things. And this was our first opportunity to be like, yeah, they're going for it. And we're all in on it. But at the same time, we knew the rest of the division made improvements as well. And the Marlins, we felt, were a young and an upstarting team. And are you watching the Miami game right now?
No.
You are watching the Miami game, aren't you?
I'm not watching any game.
Hearts, what do you got? Miami game?
Not watching the game.
So all the teams got a little bit better, but at the same time, it came like the Braves are going to be the same Braves for the next 8 years. That's a scary thought. That's a very scary thought. And so the Mets blowing it up after just 3 months, and that's a very scary thought, because the owner that we thought we had and the vision with the GM that we're going to be hand in hand, that didn't work. And to buy out the mistake with $131 million check, that's what the Yankees were known for, right? The Yankees were known as the big money team that didn't care and just, paid the highest mercenary to come play for them the next year. Whoever was the best pitcher, best hitter, we're going to put him in a Yankee uniform. And we hated that as Mets fans. And now we're the ones that are trying to do it. And it doesn't feel good. it doesn't feel good to see it get blown up so quickly and turn course, but it's okay because he can afford the mistakes that were made.
And also, David Stearns is not a lock. I know the report was the Mets are down the road, but I know the Astros are talking to him, and there's multiple teams, several teams that want this guy. So this is not like a shoo-in that he's coming here to save the Mets, because I wouldn't blame him if he's like, I'm going to go to the Astros because the Astros are goddamn good. Like, why would he not?
This is another one of the things that, again, you just expect it's going to happen, right? Oh, richest owner in baseball, and why wouldn't you want to do it? Because you still have to overcome so many things, and the National League East with the Braves having all these young players locked up for the next 8 years, that's a difficult, daunting task. And not only that, but you know how it is. Everybody that gets interviewed for the position gets their life shredded. Everyone goes looking for every tweet, every address that they ever lived at, everything they ever said, everything they ever did. And then you turn around and you go to Houston, and everything's hunky-dory down there. They're loving life. They've had the worst farm system in baseball for the last 4 seasons. And have you ever heard them once complain, we can't compete because our farm system? No, all they do is they find ways to compete. Every guy that has left as a superstar, Correa leaves, and Jeremy Pena goes in there and winds up being World Series MVP. Like Jordani Alvarez. They've got all these guys, and they sign them on the cheap. Their international scouting has been fantastic. And everybody talks about the analytics. It's not about the analytics. It's about playing a style of baseball that doesn't go away. Don't strike out. Put the ball in play. And play as a team. Even when one guy isn't clicking, the other 3 are. And how many times have we said this in the past 2 years? Man, have you seen a team where everybody's struggling? Everybody? It's on repeat. The same thing is on repeat. So if you're a GM and your job offers are the Mets and the Astros, I mean, how much money is it going to take for him to say yes to that rather than go, hey, I can live comfortably and not under scrutiny down in Houston?
I've said it before, blank check, great movie. That's going to be what it takes. It's going to take a Steve Cohen blank check to get him here. And then, the other question is, if he comes in, does Buck go? That's I'm in a tough predicament, because I think if they're going young, I don't think Buck should be here. And the team was so bad this year, but 2 of these last 2 months, he got a crappy team. So he really had a good team for 4 months, non-competitive team for 2 months. So it's hard to evaluate him. But if you're bringing in a fresh new president and a younger team, I don't see how Buck that works. The talk is bring in Counsell, bring his guy in. Counsell would be absolutely fantastic and would be one of the upgrades. But, the other names, Bob Melvin could be out there. Things haven't been working out in San Diego. Figgy, does Eric Chavez get promoted to the manager? Joe Espada was a name in the past. Beltran, do you after what happened with him, do you bring him in there? AJ Hinch, like, what do you think about Buck's future? Do you think of the new president, Buck's got to go?
Well, think about it this way, right? When the Braves needed a turnover and they were going young, they turned to Brian Snitker. Brian Snitker was a lifer in the Braves organization, 40 some odd years of never being, a manager at the big league level. But he was a lifer in the Braves organization, and every one of those players had played for him and loved him and knew what kind of a man he was. So going through these trials and tribulations, and Buck has kind of tried to be the bulletproof vest for all these guys. Right. The new baseball is different, right? Billy Martin throwing people under the bus, saying the reason why we lost the game is because Reggie Jackson struck out 3 times, and then fist fighting with Reggie Jackson. That doesn't happen anymore, right? So you're talking about the mental state of a professional athlete. And with all the pressures that they have, Buck has to kind of do a song and dance every single time, and even take the blame on himself, even if it's not his blame. It's their performance, but he has to do that because that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to take the heat off the players so that they can sit back and relax. But in New York, that doesn't work, because the media is going to go right back to that player and said, Buck said this, and kind of put it in a way that makes the player on the defensive, because he hasn't talked to Buck about what he said in the press conference. And so now he's getting it as secondhand information. And if they say it in a certain way, it could be the same exact wording, but just different words. You know how that plays out. It's like the game of telephone. Now, all of a sudden, the player's like, he said what? Like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Give me a second. But they don't get to do that. It's like immediate. We need their answer now, and it's not multiple choice. You got to tell us how you feel. And the communication that I've seen on this team has been atrocious from the top down. And we've said this before with Billy Epler when the trade deadline came. How do you not sit down your veteran core of guys as the leadership group of your team and say, this is the plan, this is what's happening? And even if they don't agree with it, they at least know, so that when the questions come, Miami win, they finish. I see a big smile on your face. There's a big smile on your face.
Are we going to interrupt this program to give an update of the predicament?
So let me
finish your point,
because I got to hear this. So at the end of it all, right? It's Buck Showalter can do the job. And how many times has Buck Showalter had the rug pulled out from underneath him when situations like this happen? Right? We said that coming into this, and then all of a sudden we were like, oh my God, they gave him a team to work with. He's the perfect guy for it. And things weren't exactly the same this year. I'm still of the thought process that he was not given the same amount of input as last year, and how they were doing the 36-34. Good job, Jake. How they were not doing the lineups the same way, and like they're forcing Vogel back in there as much as possible. There's no way Buck can say this is the guy that should be protecting Pete Alonso. No way. So as an old school baseball guy and a manager of that level where he wins manager of the year, I felt like they took away a little bit of something from him, because he just wasn't the same. It didn't seem like he had the same freedom to be himself. Now,
so why I was checking closely is it got very scary. Okay. I needed Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins quarterback, to finish with 5 rushing yards. He had 7 going to the fourth quarter. The Chargers, Miami scores with like 90 seconds left. So they take the lead. Chargers end up not getting a first down. Miami gets the ball to kneel, which means I get negative yards. He kneels it twice. Luckily, he only kneeled it 1 yard each time to finish at 5 and win the $1,000 on the $15 parlay. That's why I was like sweating over here, because right now it's saying both kneels were negative 1 yard. If one of them changes to -2, I lose, and it becomes a segment on SVP Sports Center tonight. But right now it's saying that I'm a winner. So we'll see. Hopefully it finishes great. I'm sorry.
I'm just hoping that, upon further review.
But think if he kneel, it's because a lot of them will kneel.
Exactly.
They'll go 3 yards backwards. Apparently he did a quick kneel, and I thank him for the quick kneel. Thank you to Tua.
You think he knew going into it that he needed 5? And
he's like, all right, Jake, let me only kneel.
That's what they were saying in his earpiece.
Well, the thing is, the Chargers use both their timeouts and offense. So if he were to have to kneel a third time, I would have lost by 1 yard, and I would have threw the mic around. Anyway, we're good. This is Amazin But True. Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa. Mets Diamondbacks now this week. They're 9 out. Just to keep a rosy setting here, the Diamondbacks are the 3rd wild card team right now. So obviously there would be other help. If the Mets found a way to win 4 straight, they could get within 5 or 6 here of the wild card, although Miami's half out and they play Milwaukee. So the Mets could end the week 5 out of the wild card and tease us. It's probably not happening, but just wanted to paint a rosy picture of maybe why you should go at Citi Field this week. And, it's hockey jersey night, Tuesday night. I'm looking forward to getting my hockey jersey. So that's a cool giveaway. But, a tough test here for Ronnie Mauricio Club. And Ronnie Mauricio's come down to earth a little bit. Listen, he wasn't going to hit every day, twice a day, every day. He's 9 for 29, 310 now. He's come down to life, still looking for that first homer. But I've seen good signs at him, and I haven't seen many defensive mishaps. He's been fine. So we'll see if they spread him around. He's played mostly just second. So we'll see if he plays elsewhere. But he's been a fun piece of watching these September Mets. And then coming up Sunday, Figgy. Now it's football Sunday, so I'm going to be watching football. I'm not going to be there. Maybe I'll go for the shirt and go home quickly. But it is Bartolo Colon Day at Citi Field on Sunday. They give out the long sleeve shirt. I've debated in the past. Make sure it's XL. It's a disrespect to Big Sexy to give a little sexy T-shirt. To make it a large or a medium for a guy that was a rounded belly like I am. You played with Bartolo. Now, a lot of Bartolo stories, let's keep it real. You can't share them on the airwaves. But is there anything about playing with Bartolo in the DR that you can share with us about him?
Now, one of the things about Bartolo Colon that you have to remember the metamorphosis of Bartolo Colon. When he first came up to the big leagues, and he came up instantly to a team that was competing in Cleveland, that was going to the World Series, flame-throwing phenom. And when we say flame-throwing phenom, he was not built the same way. He was throwing 100 miles an hour into the ninth inning, into pitch 130 plus, because that's the way that they used to do it. And he
was slim as hell. Talk about slim. He was a different looking person.
He absolutely was. And he just threw so hard. But one of the things throughout the years is that his work ethic has never changed. His body might have changed as you get older. Yeah, you put on weight, but you've seen videos of him on Instagram. He works his ass off, and he takes pride in being in shape. Round is a shape, but he's in shape. He moves around on the mound like a cat. He has the arm of a shortstop. Does all the little things, and he's so fun to watch because he enjoys playing baseball. That was, I think, what made him so lovable with the Mets. So here I am in the Dominican Republic, and I'm getting a chance to meet him for the first time, and we're playing catch. And he tells me, he's been dealing with an elbow issue. He's trying to get over. And I'm just watching the way that he throws and the way that he moves his body. And it was just very different, like the way that he swung his leg open and then just kind of go towards the plate. And we're playing catch, and I'm seeing how the ball moves, and it had different trajectory. Like the ball would come in and then just kind of dart and disappear, which is what he's known for. And so I tried to kind of harness and pick his brain about why he does that or how he does that. And he said it's just the way that his body moves and the way that he's built that made him have to pitch that way. And so he had evolved from this flamethrower who just reared back to throw to being a guy who could make the ball move. And he was still throwing at that time, 95, 96. And then we got him with the Mets. And I remember my first year at SNY, every time he'd have a game, and he was always pitching 7 innings, very competitive games. He led the team in wins both years that I was there in 15 and 16. And, I'm speaking about, you got all these young flamethrowers. This is who he was. And yet he's evolved to a pitcher. And then in year 2, I'm watching I think it was the first or second game, and he threw 96 pitches. 92 of them were fastballs. And I said, hold on a second. That can't be right. I go, do you understand how difficult that is to do? 92 out of 96 pitches to be fastballs. And yes, they had movement. They had two-seam action. And he struck out 7, and he went 7 innings and won the game. And I said, everybody gives Mariano credit for having the best one pitch in baseball with the cutter, but he only had to do it for 3 outs. This guy's doing it for 21 outs. And they know it's coming. They know he's going to front door that two-seamer with 2 strikes. And then he was still able to do it over and over again. It was so impressive. And I think that's the one thing that I take away from a guy like Bartolo Colon is he pitched so long and did so many amazing things throughout his career. And people think about him now, or Big Sexy with that nickname, but he's busted his ass to stay at that level for so long that guys like today, they're here and they're gone tomorrow. And like for a guy like him, could he have been a hard thrower and just fizzled out? Sure. But he busted his ass working so hard to be that guy. So the Big Sexy name, I think, is all encompassing. It's not just his body size. It's everything that he put in and everything that he got out of that body to enjoy the game and just, be able to make everyone smile.
I like the way you move, Bartolo. I like the way you move, Bartolo. I like the way do. I like the way do.
Man, that
was a banger.
Are you gonna get blood tested for the ADD again?
I told you I've avoided my physical. I haven't got one. I hope my parents don't get it. I haven't got one in a couple of years because I already know my levels are going to be
Big
so
Punisher.
High.
Big pun.
So I'm not looking forward to that appearance at the doctor. But 21 years, 21. For Bartolo. So, yeah, you want to talk about longevity. And he didn't, the numbers don't blow your minds off. It's 4.12 for his career. You're right. But
winningest Latin pitcher in history.
Yeah. And look at all the teams he played for. Like he played in the AL, he played in the NL, a fan favorite. He's got kids, moms. He's lived quite the journey of a life. So in honor of Big Sixy.
Whoa.
Big Sexy sounds like a car dealership. Big Sexy. We will go to the Bartolo Colon Spanish Academy coming up next on Amazin But True.
Bienvenidos, mis compañeros, a la Academia de Español del Nelson Figueroa. Welcome to the Amazing But True Spanish Academy. I am, of course, the professor. And Jake Brown, Jacobo Cafe, is my prize student, who's come such a long way.
Hola, senor. Hola, mis amigo.
¿Dónde está el baño? You got that one yet?
Where's the bathroom?
Nice. See?
It's literally right here if I had to. So
at least we know that much. All right. So in honor of Bartolo Colon, all three of these phrases have something to do with his very illustrious career. The first one is going to be the play behind the back. Remember that very famously in Miami. It's the jugada atrás de las espaldas.
This is behind the back?
Behind the back.
All right, say it again.
La jugada.
La jugada.
Atrás.
Atrás.
De la espalda.
De la espalda. I remember espalda because we've done something before. Is that back?
That's back. Yeah, somebody had a back injury, right?
Is it jugara? Like who? Like the who?
Jugada. Not jugara.
La jugada atrás de la espalda.
Not bad. Not bad.
A plus.
C minus. I'm not letting you ride that high of Miami still.
Yeah.
Now we have the most victories by a Latin pitcher.
Oh God, this is a long one.
La más victorias de un lanzador latino.
La más victorias de who?
La más victorias de un lanzador latino.
Un
Whoa.
Who?
Lanzador.
Hold on. La más victoria is like Victoria's Secret. De un
lanzador. De un lanzador.
De un lanzador.
Latino.
Oh, I like that. Latino.
Now go.
I know that one. La más victorias de. Is it una or un? Un. Okay, so it's not like uno pizza. All right.
No.
La más victorias de un lanzador latino.
Oh, that might be one of your better ones.
Oh.
Notice it wasn't any R's to mess you up.
Yeah,
However, of which.
Uh-oh. What's next? Big belly?
Nah, last but not least, we have Big Sexy Retirement Day. Okay. So that's going to be
Grande Sexy.
That's very good. Grande Sexy Día de Jubilación.
Oh, that part's hard. Grande Sexy. I like that part just by itself.
Why is it sexy? Why
sexy? Where's that from? That's from somewhere. I don't know where. Grande Sexy. Grande Sex. Now I can't stop saying sexy.
We'll do it the other way. Día de Jubilación de Gran Sexy.
No, I like Grande Sexy better.
We can do it. We're gonna flip flop. We're gonna put it at the end. So it's
de la
retirement of Big Sexy.
Okay, say it again.
El día de jubilación de Gran Sexy.
El día de Hublo? Like the watch?
Jubilación.
Jubilation,
but Spanish.
Jubilation?
Jubilación.
Jubilación. All right. And then what?
El día de jubilación de Gran Sexy.
Sexy. All right, here we go. El día de jubilation. Jubilation! Thank you, Miami. Gracias, Miami. El día de jubilación de Gran Sexy.
Nice.
Why can't I say one of your better ones normal anymore?
I had to get more R's in there, but I figured we'd take it easy on you this week.
All right, we'll close this episode of Amazin But True next. All righty, Figgy. Good show today. Not much going on in Mets land, so pretty laid back Sunday show. A Sunday fun day. Does that close episode 179 of Amazin But True, our Mets podcast from the New York Post.
Thanks to Andrew Hartz and to Jake, the big winner, for producing the show. Subscribe to Amazin But True on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the New York Post Sports YouTube page to watch all episodes. Find that Amazin But True playlist. Give us a thumbs up below on YouTube and comment your thoughts. Why are you watching the rest of the Mets season this year?
I ask myself that every day, actually.
Follow us on Twitter at Amazin But True, at FiggyNY, and at Jake Brown Radio.
Well, listen, Mauricio's been fun to at least see him up. You know, Sunday's lineup did feature Alvarez, Mauricio, Beatty, Vientos. Finally, you know, we got the four. I love that to just be the 6 through 9 every day. Like, just have those guys all four, see what they do, you know, going up back to back to back to back. They all play together in AAA. Why not see them all together? It's 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock Thursday, 4 o'clock against the Diamondbacks. I'll drop probably a short show Friday morning after that Thursday afternoon. A rare Thursday 4 o'clock game here in New York. You don't get that often, so that's very interesting. And then the Reds will come to town. So listen, the two top teams right now in that wild card for the third spot are up against the Mets. And then the Marlins. You get 10 straight. 10-0, you never know. Talking about rhyming, 10-0, you never know.
I'm on record
now.
I'm on record saying that we're gonna finish 3 games out and then start screaming why. Remember that.
Well, they are 9 out. In the next 10, can they go 9-1 and get within 4, get within 3, and then it's it's not going to happen. But listen, we got to lay it out there because we're Mets fans and we've seen it go the other way where they had it. You were there, 2008, 2007, back-to-back years.
Yeah.
What was it? 7 and 17, and then 7.5.
17, yeah.
Yeah. So if we see 7 and 17, why not 9 and 20? 9 and 20 is the new 7 and 17. So there is a reason to watch, at least for this big homestand coming up for. And then big sexy day, of course, next Sunday. I'll be back Friday. Figgy will be back next week. Figgy, the Mets won Sunday thanks to Go DJ. That's our DJ. So because they won a game and because the Jets are on Monday night, tune in, the gang's all here. And they're going to beat the Bills. Call it. You heard it here first. We'll close it with 3 words. 3, 2, 1. Let's go, Mets.
Let's go, Mets.
I mean, let's go, Jets.
I knew you were going there.